So in this video, I want to show you guys the data and the simple math of why it's pretty much never worth timing the market. There are definitely people out there that try to do this when there's new information that comes up that something may be happening. They may try to sell just before that thing happens. Well, I'm going to give you guys two examples of here that showing that timing the market really is never worth your time and effort. And for the most part, if anything, if you want to buy after the fact, if prices do drop because of some news, you probably should just buy and not sell in anticipation for that thing to happen. Just buy if it does go down instead of just selling and then buying back after the fact, because sometimes it may not even work out in your favor, and other times, like I'll show you guys here, it's basically just not even worth it. I understand some things you may want to time because you may think prices will drop significantly, but for the most part of what we've seen, even when prices drop, they're not significant to the point where it'd be worth trying to time the market. So I want to first use an example here with Destined Rivals. So Destined Rivals booster boxes, the news that came out of why potentially somebody in this case may have wanted to sell to time the market is because a restock came. Pokemon Center dropped. The Destined Rivals booster boxes on the Pokemon Center website. It was a pretty big deal. And prices dropped pretty significantly, right? It peaked at around $460, and then prices dropped to $370. Now, the difference for that is $90. Now, $90 relative to the original price is 20%. So, if you do the math of, okay, if you're trying to sell online, right, on eBay, it's what, like 13.25%. Shipping costs, you do all the math, you're going to probably net about that much of a difference with the fees, 20%. So you're basically going to be cutting even. So you doing all the work, trying to, sell the product, ship it, go to the post office, all those things, and just buy after the fact, you're not going to be any better off because your fees, the shipping is going to destroy the difference of 20%, and it wouldn't be worth it. And this is just a perfect example of how timing the market really would not be beneficial in this case with a restock or a reprint. That's why when so many people talk about restocks and reprints and even mention about selling before it happens, guys, I mean, to my knowledge, every time we've seen a reprint, things have dropped more than possibly 20%, but still, you're making up a difference of possibly 10%, maybe 20%. Is it really worth all your time to be, buying and selling to try to get a 10% difference? Like, it's really, at the end of the day, you got to think about this. Unless you're doing this as some sort of like in like a huge scale where 10 or 20% is going to make a huge difference, I mean, by all means, I guess maybe then it's worth your time. But if you have a few booster boxes, if you have like, even like, in my opinion, like cases, like maybe like 5 to 10 cases, the price differences of 10% isn't extreme to really make all this work, worth it. And just for the most part, a lot of restocks, reprints, that sort of situation really it's not worth trying to do this timing the market thing. Destined Rivals is just a great example of, you probably shouldn't be really selling just because there's restock hit and prices will drop. That is the first example of Destined Rivals. There's probably a lot of people that sold before the news happened, just try to sell at its peak. But if you sell and you don't want to buy back in, then I guess it's a different story, right? But I guess in this situation, I'm talking about timing the market. We're trying to sell and at its peak and then buy back in after the fact. And as you can see here, it didn't really work. Now, another example here is Mega Evolution. Well, Mega Evolution, what happened here? So Mega Evolution, is a wave release, just like Phantasmal Flames. And Mega Evolution got its first supply, which was 60% on initial release, and then about a few weeks, month later, we got the second supply, which is the other 40%. Now, people may have been trying to time the market here with when it peaked at $320 because they knew, okay, this is the first supply, it's obviously a lot more scarce now, but when that next 40% supply hits, it's going to drop in price. And that's exactly what happened. But does that mean that you should have, tried to time the market and sell at its peak, buy back in its lows? Well, let's see if you would be really any better off. So the highs was 320, the price drop was all the way down to 245. The difference, $75. You do the math compared to the high, it's a 23% drop. So you can see this is very similar to the Destined Rivals situation of, okay, trying to time because of some news or some knowledge of something, and it dropped here 23%. Now, after fees, after, eBay, shipping, all that stuff, what? Maybe you're going to be netting a few percent gain. It's like all of this work for such a small profit gain. It's really not worth it. And at this point, when you're timing the market and doing all these things, are you really investing? I mean, at this point, you're just trying to run like a full-on business here of trying to, capture, profit through news and stuff. Like, it's not even investing at this point. And what I've always said with these price drops and any sort of news, anything that makes prices drop, it's more of an opportunity to buy than to sell. And especially with some of these great products and some of these sought after things like Destined Rivals, they didn't drop that much. Like, obviously, dropping $90 for Destined Rivals, I mean, $90 is, I guess, somewhat of a big number, but still relative. It was only 20%, and it wouldn't be enough to make it worth selling and doing the work with. And the same thing here, it wouldn't be worth doing all the work to try to capture a small margin, trying to get the most money out of, I guess, the product. Um, you know, I personally think that doing this whole thing is really risky, because especially if you're trying, and well, I mean, I'm assuming here you're trying to buy back in, it's really not worth ever really timing the market. But I just wanted to make this video to show you guys, just the data right in front of you. For the most part, it's not worth it. Obviously, there's some, I guess, examples out there that probably would make it worth it after a restock. Maybe prices dropped like 50%. Okay, if you can time it and you can buy after and the prices drop 50%, I guess then obviously it would be worth it, because you do all the math with the fees. Maybe it's around 15-20%. If the price drop was 50%, your gain would be like 30-35%, and in that way 100% it would be worth timing. But just playing this game of timing the market usually doesn't really work out. But there are some circumstances where maybe you very well made a good decision. One thing maybe you could say would be worth possibly trying to time the market is like singles. Maybe one of your singles you have skyrockets like crazy, right? We've seen that happening throughout the this whole market. Singles, something's going up crazily. Some things like that, if you are fine with just selling it and waiting out, some of those things that skyrocket, especially for singles, maybe it will be worth timing the market for those. But for sealed products specifically, I think for the most part, you're better off just buying at a lower price point, even if you are anticipating it happening, instead of just trying to sell and capture a marginal difference. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and that's what I want to show you, and I'll see you guys on the next one.